Today we're going to travel back to the 1800s and visit the dark mind of Lydia Sherman, who not only killed 3 of her husbands, but 8 innocent children, some who belonged to her. Lydia Sherman had an unfortunate addiction to murder. She went on a decades-long killing spree, poisoning, and doing exactly what she wanted. Her sensational trial in 1872 resulted in newspaper headlines that called her America's Queen Killer, the Poison Fiend, or simply the Derby Poisoner. While awaiting trial, she wrote a best-selling confession called The Poison Fiend: Life, Crimes, and Conviction of Lydia Sherman, though I later found a newspaper clipping that made fun of her basically and said that she couldn't write at all and that she had no business writing a book. The childhood of Lydia Sherman offers very few clues about why she became a killer. She was born Lydia Danbury on Christmas Eve in 1824, but she was certainly not a blessing from God. She was born in Burlington, New Jersey. A year after her birth, her mother died, and she went to live on her uncle's farm until she turned 16. I believe she was a tailor during this time. Then she went to live with her brother in New Brunswick. She was thin and pretty with blue eyes, dark hair, and clear porcelain skin. She also had a strong connection to the Methodist Church. At 18, she attended a Methodist dinner and met Edward Struck, a widowed blacksmith with 6 children. Shortly afterward, he proposed marriage, and she said yes. I always have to wonder in a lot of these stories, these people who go to church every Sunday and they do these horrific things, true sociopaths. Her and her new husband Edward set up housekeeping in New York City and had 8 children of their own. With such a large family to support, Edward decided he needed more income, so he got a job as a New York City police officer. But a few years into the job, he was charged with being a coward during a hotel robbery in Manhattan, and he then lost his job. Edward sank into a deep depression. He refused to leave the apartment and eventually wouldn't leave his bed. Lydia, growing tired and weary of him, decided to just put him out of his misery. He was of no use. One day she went to the drugstore to buy arsenic, which was easy to obtain as a rat-killing poison in the 19th century. She stirred just a thimbleful into Edward's oatmeal, though it only takes a few grains to kill a man. And after several agonizing hours, he died. First, his throat burned. Then he suffered excruciating abdominal pains and diarrhea. Then convulsions, and finally death. Meanwhile, Lydia just watched. Months earlier, their 2-year-old daughter, also named Lydia, contracted measles, but she actually died of similar symptoms. Her mother never admitted to killing her, though she confessed to killing 8 other children, and chances are she also killed little Lydia. As the Civil War raged, Lydia created carnage in her own household without any means now of support and young children to feed. Lydia decided that her 3 youngest, that were the most useless to her, Martha Ann 6, Edward Jr. 4, and William, who was only 9 months old, they could do nothing for her and nothing for themselves, she said. She decided to put them out of the way, the same way she had their father. Less than 6 weeks after killing Edward Struck, Lydia poisoned her 3 children. 3 of her older children stayed alive, though, at least for a while, because they found work to help support the family. But then George, 14, contracted lead poisoning from his job as a painter. He ended up in bed trying to recover. Unfortunately, his mother didn't give him time to recover before she gave him arsenic in his tea. And why no one was getting suspicious at this point is beyond me. Now, Lydia's 12-year-old daughter, Anne Eliza, was the next to go. She didn't have a job, and she'd always been a little sickly. She was useless. John, 16, had already moved out of the house, which probably saved his life. Well, we know it saved his life. 18-year-old Lydia, which, yes, was also named after her, so she named 2 of her daughters Lydia, was the last child living at home. and she had a job as a retail clerk. But then she got sick with something and she ended up in bed. Soon, her mother got rid of her the same way she got rid of everybody else, and still, no one seemed concerned. Then she did what makes complete sense. She got a job as a nurse. By the end of the Civil War, Lydia's stepson, Cornelius Struck, finally grew suspicious about Lydia and shared his concern with the district attorney. The DA promised an investigation, but nothing happened. When the Civil War ended, Lydia got a job selling sewing machines in New York City. She met John Curtis, a customer impressed with the 41-year-old's nursing experience. In 1867, he hired her to take care of his elderly mother in Stratford, Connecticut. After 8 months with the old lady, she encountered a rich widower named Dennis Hulbert in a grocery store. She still had her looks and she had plenty of charm. She convinced him that he needed her as a housekeeper. And soon after that, he asked her to marry him. On November 22nd, 1868, Lydia married Dennis Hulbert and made sure that he wrote her into his will, which is a big mistake. 14 months into the marriage, she noticed his hands shaking while he was shaving for church. And he said he felt dizzy and he just couldn't shake it off. She decided that he was suffering from some kind of illness or malady, so she put him out of his suffering with a large dose of arsenic in his clam chowder. 3 excruciating days later, he died, leaving Lydia $20,000 worth of real estate and $10,000 in cash, which, of course, is a lot more back then. 8 weeks later, she met a Derby, Connecticut factory mechanic named Horatio Sherman. He was a recent widower and he had 4 children. They married within a few months and she moved to Derby. So Lydia definitely knew how to get around with the men. Horatio, unaware of his wife's murderous activities, was a heavy drinker and he spent his money freely on alcohol. One day, while drunk, he ranted that he wished his sickly infant son Frankie would die or something. Lydia Sherman took the hint and mixed a little arsenic into the baby's milk. He died quickly. The next month, her 14-year-old stepdaughter Ada came down with the flu, and doctors couldn't really do anything because the flu just has to run its course. But Lydia didn't have patience or time for this. Ada was useless now. She knew what she had to do, so she got rid of Ada too. Now, the death of his beloved daughter caused Horatio to go on a bender. Lydia decided to make her husband sick of drinking liquor, so she spiked a bottle of brandy with arsenic. When Dr. J.C. Beardsley came to treat Horatio, he grew suspicious of his strange symptoms. Horatio eventually died, of course, and the doctor asked Lydia if he could order a post-mortem exam. She agreed. If she would have just said no, it probably would have ended there. Why she agreed, I don't know. Beardsley now sent Horatio Sherman's organs to Yale for analysis. Sure enough, Yale professor George Frederick Barker found large quantities of arsenic in Horatio's body. Now, autopsies were performed on Dennis Hulbert, her other husband, as well as Frankie, the baby, and Ada Sherman, the stepdaughter, where he found more arsenic. Lydia Sherman had at this point moved to New Brunswick to live with her family, but on June 7, 1872, police arrested her for the murders. They took her to New Haven to await trial. Her trial began April 16, 1872 and lasted 8 days. Lydia Sherman appeared prim and proper in court, wearing a black alpaca dress, a shawl, gloves, and a straw hat with a thin veil. She constantly claimed her innocence, but the jury, faced with overwhelming evidence, convicted her of second-degree murder of Horatio Sherman. Tabloids then called her the horror of the century. In the newspaper articles that I read from that time, it said that Lydia Sherman seemed sorry in jail, that she had said she repented and that it made her feel much better. Lydia Sherman then went on to die May 16, 1878 from cancer. No one gave her arsenic to put her out of her misery, though. And what happened between her or God? At this point, only they will know. Thank you for listening to the end, and We will see you next time, and remember, don't let anyone else make your oatmeal. Make it yourself.